I want you to remember back to 2020-1 or 2020-2. Do you remember what it was like to try and buy a car? It was a nightmare. You would walk into a dealership and the lot was empty. There were no cars. If you found the truck you wanted, the salesman would laugh at you. He would point to a sticker on the window that said market adjustment, $5,000 over MSRP. $10,000 over MSRP. Take it or leave it. And people took it. They paid. They fought each other for the privilege of overpaying for a Toyota RAV4 or A4 Def 150. We were old. It was the chip shortage. We were old. It was the new normal. Well, I have news for you. Fast forward to today, January 2020-6. The party is over. The music has stopped, and the hangover is just beginning. Welcome to our new series, The Car Market Collapse. Over the next 6 episodes, we are going to dissect the biggest financial bubble in the American economy. A bubble that is bigger than credit cards, bigger than student loans. We are going to show you how greed, easy money, and stupidity created a $1.6 trillion disaster. And we are going to show you why. If you are thinking about buying a car right now, you are about to make a terrible mistake. But today, in part 1, we start at the scene of the crime, the dealership. If you doctor past your local Ford or Jeep or Ram dealer today, you will notice something strange. It is full. In fact, it is too full. Cars are parked on the grass. They are parked in the employee lot. They are double-minus parked in the aisles. They can't get rid of them. This is what we call the dealership graveyard. To understand the severity of this, we need to look at a metric called days supply. In the auto industry, a healthy days supply is 60 days. That means if the factories stopped making cars today, the dealer would sell out of inventory into months. That is the sweet spot. But right now, in 2020-6, the numbers are catastrophic. Look at Stella Tins, the parent company of Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. For some of their models, the supply is not 60 days. It is 150 days, 200 days. There are reports of Jeep Gladiators on Ram 1500s sitting on lots for over 400 days. Think about that. A brand new truck manufactured over a year ago, sitting in the rain, snow, and sun, waiting for a buyer who isn't coming. The rubber seals are drying out. The battery is dead. The tires are developing flat spots. It is a zombie car. It is technically new, but it is rotting. So, why is this happening? Why did we go from shortage to glut so quickly? It is a classic case of demand destruction. For 3 years, the car manufacturers got greedy. They realized they could make more money by selling fewer cars at higher prices. They killed the cheap cars. They stopped making the $20,000 sedans. They focused entirely on $80,000 luxury trucks and $50,000 SUVs. They thought the American consumer had infinite money. They were wrong. Interest rates went up. Inflation squeezed the household budget. Insurance premiums doubled. And suddenly, the average American looked at an $80,000 truck payment, which would be $1,200 a month, and said, no, I can't afford it. But the factories didn't stop. They kept building them, and now they are choking on them. But there is a hidden ticking time bomb in this story. It is called floor plan interest. You might think that the dealership owns the cars on their lot. They don't. Dealerships take out massive loans to buy that inventory from the manufacturer. When interest rates were 1% or 2%, holding that inventory was cheap. But today, interest rates are much higher. Every single day that $80,000 truck sits on the lot and sold, it is costing the dealer money in interest. It might cost them $200 or $300 a month just to keep that one car sitting there. Now, multiply that by 500 cars. The dealers are bleeding cash. They are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in interest. This is why you are seeing commercials again. 0% APR for 70 minus 2 months. $10,000 off MSRP. They are desperate. They are not discounting the cars because they like you. They are discounting the cars because the interest payments are driving them into bankruptcy. But here is the catch. Even with the discounts, nobody is buying. A $10,000 discount on a $90,000 truck still makes it an $80,000 truck. The manufacturers are in a standoff with reality. And while the new cars are rotting on the lot, something even scarier is happening in the used car market. Now, those people are trapped. They are underwater. The entire cycle of the car market, trade in the old, buy the new, has broken. In the next episode, part 2, we are going to expose the markup scam. Welcome back to the car market collapse. In part 1, we stood in the dealership graveyard. We saw the unsold cars piling up. But today in part 2, we are going to look at the cars that did get sold. Specifically, we are going to look at the cars sold between 2020-1 and 2020-3. This was the era of the markup. It was a time of collective insanity. Let's imagine a typical scenario from 2020-2. Meet John. John wanted a Kia Telluride. The manufacturer suggested retail price, the MSRP, was $40-5,000. But when John arrived at the dealership, the sticker didn't say $40-5,000. It said $60,000. There was a line item called market adjustment, $15,000 of pure air. The dealer told John, if you don't buy it, the guy behind you will. So John panicked. He bought it. He financed $60,000 plus taxes and fees. Let's say $60-5,000 total. He took out a loan for $80- for months. That is 7 years. Fast forward to today, January 2020-6. John has been paying his loan for 3 or 4 years. He has paid thousands of dollars. But because interest rates were high and the loan term was so long, he has barely touched the principal. He still owes about $8,000 to the bank. But here is the problem. The shortage is over. The market adjustment is gone. That Kia Telluride isn't rare anymore. Today, a used Kia Telluride from that year is worth maybe $20-8,000. Let's do the math. John owes $40-8,000. The car is worth $20-8,000. John is underwater by $20,000. This is called negative equity. And John is not alone. Analysts at Edmunds and Cox Automotive estimate that nearly 1 in 3 car loans in America right now is underwater. But being underwater isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It is a trap. It is a prison. Let's say John loses his job today. He can't afford the monthly payment anymore. In a normal market, he would sell the car, pay off the loan, and maybe have a little cash left over. But John can't sell the car. If he sells the car for $20-8,000, he still has to write a check to the bank for $20,000. John doesn't have $20,000, so he is stuck. He is forced to keep a car he cannot afford. He is chained to that $15,000 market adjustment he paid for years ago. He isn't driving a car. He is driving a mistake. And the banks knew this would happen. In fact, they encouraged it. How did they get people to sign up for these insane loans? They used a tool called the extended term loan. In the past, a standard car loan was 30-6 or 40-8 months, 3 or 4 years. Then it became 60 months, 5 years. During the markup era, lenders pushed terms to 80- for months, even 90-6 months. That is 8 years. By the time you pay it off, the warranty is gone. The car is breaking down, but you are still paying for it as if it were brand new. This was a way to hide inflation. They hid the price increase in the time duration. We are seeing a phenomenon called the trade minus in death spiral. Let's say John ignores the math. He goes to a dealership today. The dealer says, okay, we will take your Kia, but you owe $20,000 more than it is worth. The dealer says, no problem. We will just roll that $20,000 into your new loan. So now, John buys a $50,000 truck, but his loan is for $70,000. He is paying interest on the new truck, and he's paying interest on the ghost of the old Kia. This creates a snowball effect. Eventually, The debt becomes so big that no bank will finance it. That is the wall. We are hitting into 2020-6. Millions of Americans are walking into dealerships, only to find out they are unfinanceable. The banks are tightening their standards. They see the bubble. They know the collateral of the car is not worth the paper the loan is written on. So they are saying no. And when the banks say no, the cars don't move. This brings us back to the dealership graveyard from part 1. The reason those new cars aren't selling is because the customers who want to buy them are trapped in their old loans. The markup scam of 2020-2 has destroyed the buyer of 2020-6. The greed of the past has killed the sales of the future. And for the people who are stuck, the ones who can't trade in and can't make the payments, there's only one outcome left: the tote rock. In the shadows of the night, an army of repo men is mobilizing. They are using license plate scanners to hunt down these underwater cars. The default rates are climbing. The delinquency rates are hitting levels we haven't seen since 2008. In the next episode, part 3, we are going to ride along with the repo men. We are going to witness the repo crisis. We will see what happens when millions of people simply stop paying. And we will see where these repossessed cars go to die. Welcome back to the car market collapse. In part 2, we met John. He bought a Kia for $60,000, and now he is underwater by $20,000. For a while, John tried to keep up. He cut back on groceries. He canceled Netflix. He worked overtime, but then inflation hit. His rent went up. His insurance went up, and John had to make a choice. Does he pay for the roof over his head? Or does he pay for the car that is worth less than half of what he owes? John made the rational choice. He paid his rent, and he skipped the car payment. He skipped 1 month, then 2 months, then 3. Now, John wakes up at 3 a.m. to a strange sound outside his window. The grinding of metal chains. The beep of a hydraulic lift. He looks out the window. His Kia is hooked up to a tow truck. By the time he runs out the front door in his pajamas, the truck is turning the corner. His car is gone. This scene is playing out on thousands of doctorways across America every single night. Welcome to part 3, the repo crisis. We are currently witnessing a historic spike in auto loan delinquencies. According to data from Fitch Ratings, the percentage of borrowers who are at least 60 days late has hit levels we haven't seen since 2008. In the subprime sector, it is even worse. It is higher than 2008. But the difference between now and 2008 is the efficiency. In the old days, a repo man had to be a detective. He had to stalk you. He had to guess where you were hiding the car. It took time. In 2020-6, the repo man doesn't need to be a detective. He has a cheat code. He has LPR, license plate recognition. Remember the cameras we talked about in our privacy series? Repo companies run fleets of spotter cars. These are just regular sedans covered in cameras. They drive through shopping malls, office parks, scanning thousands of plates an hour. When they spot a car that is on the hit list, they get a ping. They don't even tow it themselves. They pin the location on a map and sell that location. The tow truck swoops in, grab and go. But for the subprime borrowers, the technology is even more invasive. Many buy here, pay here dealerships install a device in the car called a starter interrupt device or a GPS pass-through. If you miss your payment by 1 minute past midnight on the due date, the computer sends a signal. The next morning, you get in your car to go to work. You turn the key. Nothing happens. The car is dead. It is a remote brick. The device also acts as a GPS tracker, leading the repo man straight to your driveway. This technology has industrialized the process of seizing assets. So, where do these cars go? They don't go back to the dealership. The dealer doesn't want them. They go to the auction. Places like Mannheim and Odessa. These are massive parking lots, miles wide. Right now, the auctions are flooding. The repo trucks are dropping off thousands of cars a day. And this is creating a supply shock in the wholesale market. Economics 101. When supply goes up and demand goes down, prices crash. As the auction prices crash, the value of used cars drops nationwide. And as the value of used cars drops, more people like John fall deeper underwater on their loan. It is a doom loop. More repos led to lower prices. Lower prices led to more negative equity. And more defaults lead to more repos. The banks are panicking. They are realizing that the collateral, the car, is not enough to cover the loss. This is why auto loans are becoming harder to get. The banks are tightening the faucet. But there is one specific sector: electric vehicles. Welcome back to the car market collapse. In the previous episodes, we looked at the general market, the rotting trucks, the underwater loans. But today, in part 4, we are going to look at a specific corner of the market, a corner that was supposed to be the savior of the auto industry, the electric vehicle. For the last 5 years, the message from the government and the media was clear: the future is electric. Companies like Ford and GM bet the farm on it. They spent billions of dollars retooling factories. They promised to stop making gas engines by 2030-5. But there was one problem with their plan. They forgot to ask the customer. It turns out the demand for e-verses was not infinite. It was a niche. The early adopters, the rich, tech-savvy people who wanted a Tesla, bought their cars years ago. Once that group was saturated, the demand hit a brick wall. And now, in 2020-6, that wall is collapsing. The catalyst for this disaster came from an unlikely source: the rental car giant Hertz. A few years ago, Hertz made a massive announcement. They ordered 100,000 Tesla S. It was a huge PR stunt. Tesla stock soared. But then reality set in. Renters didn't want them. They were confused by the charging. They had range anxiety. They brought the cars back with empty batteries. And worse, they crashed them. Hertz found out that repairing a Tesla costs significantly more than repairing a Toyota Camry. So, Hertz pulled the plug. They dumped 20,000 e-verses onto the used car market all at once. This flooded the market. When you dump 20,000 cars, you crash the price. Overnight, the value of a used Tesla dropped by 30%, then 40%, then 50%. If you bought a Tesla Model Y at the peak, and suddenly Hertz is selling them for $20-5,000, you have just lost $40,000 of wealth. You are financially ruined. This event exposed the dirty secret of e-verses. Depreciation. An internal combustion engine car holds its value because the technology is mature. A 10-year-old engine still works fine, but an EV is not a car. It is a piece of consumer electronics. It is a giant iPhone on wheels. And what happens to an iPhone after 3 or 4 years? The battery degrades. The processor gets slow. The software gets outdated. Nobody pays top dollar for an iPhone 6 in 2020-6. The battery is the single most expensive component of the car. Replacing it can cost $15,000 to $20,000 if you are looking at a used EV. But it might need a $20,000 battery soon. The car is effectively worthless. It is a financial time bomb. And then there is the insurance crisis. Insurance companies have realized that e-verses are a nightmare to insure. If you get into a minor fender bender, the insurance company will often total the entire car. This drives premiums through the roof. The car is more expensive to buy, harder to fuel, costs more to insure, worth nothing. It is a bad deal. Go back to the dealership graveyard from part 1. Look closely at the Ford lot. You will see rows and rows of Ford Mustang Mach-E S and F-150 Lightnings. Dealers are turning away allocations. They're telling Ford, don't send us any more e-verses. They are sitting there, unplugged, their batteries slowly draining to zero, damaging the cells. This is a disaster of capital misallocation. And who is holding the bag? The banks. But the EV disaster is just a symptom of a larger disease. The disease is financial engineering. In the next episode, part 5, we are going to look at the Subprime Auto Bubble. Welcome back to the car market collapse. If you have watched the movie The Big Short, you know exactly what happened in 2008. Greedy bankers gave mortgages to people who had no income, no jobs, and no assets. Then, they took those toxic mortgages, bundled them together into bonds, and sold them to pension funds as AAA safe investments. After 2008, the banks promised never again. They lied. They didn't stop the game. They just switched the asset. Instead of houses, they started doing it with cars. Welcome to Part 5 of the Subprime Auto Bubble. In 2020-6, total auto loan debt in America has surged past $1.6 trillion. So, how does a person with a credit score of 500 get approved for an $80,000 Dodge Challenger Hellcat? It happens because of a fraud technique called power booking. Here is how it works. The dealership wants to sell the car, but the bank's computer says no. The car is only worth $50,000. So, the finance manager at the dealership logs into the system. He edits the details of the car. He checks a box that says the car has navigation. Check. Leather seats. Check. Sunroof. Suddenly, on paper, that $50,000 car is now worth $70,000. The bank's computer sees the higher value, so the computer says approved. This is rampant in the industry. It is phantom collateral. The bank thinks they have secured the loan with a luxury vehicle. In reality, they have secured it with a base model. When they send it to auction, the auctioneer says this doesn't have leather seats. It is worth $40,000. But wait, why do the banks let this happen? Are they stupid? No, they don't care, because they don't keep the loan. Just like in 2008. They take risky car loans and bundle them together. They create an auto loan asset-backed security, or ABS. They pay the rating agencies to stamp AAA on the top slice, and then they sell them to investors, to your 401k. It is a game of hot potato. And right now, the music has stopped. The default rates on these Subprime auto bonds are skyrocketing. Investors are starting to realize that the AAA rating was a mirage. So, investors are pulling out. This causes a credit crunch. Lenders are suddenly terrified. They are tightening their standards. 2 years ago, if you had a pulse, you could get a car loan. Today, even people with good credit are getting rejected, or they are being offered interest rates of 15%. This brings the entire machine to a grinding halt. If people can't get loans, they can't buy cars. If the inventory piles up, the manufacturers have to stop production. If they stop production, they fire workers. If workers lose jobs, they default on their car loans. It is the circle of financial death, and the Federal Reserve cannot save them this time. In 2008, they lowered interest rates to 0 to save the housing market. But in 2020-6, they are fighting inflation. They cannot lower rates to 0 again. The auto industry is on its own. So, we have established that the market is crashing. Prices are falling. This sounds like bad news. But if you are smart, if you are patient, and if you have cash, this is actually the opportunity of a lifetime. Every crash has winners and losers. The winners are the ones who waited. In the final episode, Part 6, we are going to give you the buyer's manifesto. Welcome to the finale of the car market collapse. We have been on a journey through the wreckage of the American auto industry. We saw the overflowing graveyards, the tragedy of negative equity, the collapse of the electric dream. If you have watched the first 5 episodes, you might feel scared. But as we say at Project 1%, chaos is a ladder. While the impulsive people are panic-minus selling, the patient people are preparing to feast. If you have kept your powder dry, if you have saved your cash, if you have driven your old beater car for 3 extra years, your time is coming. But the most important question is it time yet? The answer is no, not quite. Do not catch a falling knife. And the repo tsunami we talked about takes time to wash through the system. It takes about 6 to 9 months for a repossessed car to go to the used car lot. We predict the true bottom of the market will be in the 3rd or 4th quarter of 2026. So, Step 1 of the buyer's manifesto is patience. Wait. Let them bleed a little longer. Step 2 is cash is king. In a world where auto loans are 8, 10, or 12%, financing is wealth destruction. If you finance a $30,000 car, you are paying over $8,000 in interest alone. The dealers hate cash buyers. When you walk in and say, "I am paying cash," they might get annoyed. Walk away. In a crashing market, cash is the only thing that talks. Eventually, they will call you back. Step 3 by boring. During a recession, you cannot afford a maintenance queen. You cannot afford a Range Rover. You cannot afford a BMW that leaks oil. You need a car that is a cockroach. A car that will survive a nuclear war. I am talking about Toyota, Honda, Lexus, Acura. Look at the sedans. SUVs carry a cool tax. You pay extra to look cool. Sedans are invisible. They cost 20% less. Step for the negotiation. For 3 years, they had the power. Now, you have the power. Use the data. Say, "I know this truck has been sitting here for 6 months." Give him your card and leave. I guarantee you, by the end of the month, his manager will call you. Step 5, freedom. But if that car comes with an $800 monthly payment, that is not freedom. That is a shekel. True freedom is a paid minus off car. Having that $800 growing in your investment account. The car market collapse is ugly. People are going to get hurt, but you don't have to be one of them. You have the knowledge now. You understand the markup scam, the supreme bubble. You can see the matrix. So sit back, save your money, watch the prices fall, and when the time is right, strike. This has been Project 1%. We investigate the system so you can survive it. Thank you for watching the car market collapse. Dr. Safe. And stay free.